So the gender war between men and women obviously continues to rage on. Andrew Tate's been released, so we know the war is about to ramp up even more. But Jubilee released a video very recently called "Are Men Falling Behind?" A discussion between male feminists and female anti-feminists, the middle ground. So let's see what they have to say.
Have more privileges today than men.
I went back and forth on this one, thinking about the difference between more and different. I think women have distinctly different privileges than men have, but with this new feminist movement that is arising, more of the third, fourth wave, we are finding, I think, that women are placed and pedestalized above men in a lot of ways. There's affirmative action hiring and scholarships where women, sometimes even regardless of academic standing or achievement, are prioritized above men. But men also have different privileges that they get to access. I struggle to say more, but I think I do agree with the feminist movement now. There is more.
If you are born into this life.
So what I would say to that is, it is true that there are certain advantages that both genders get to kind of, explore and embrace. There are certain privileges that women get to explore in terms of affirmative action, in terms of, opportunities that may not be offered to men simply on the basis of their gender. And then there are certain advantages that men get to enjoy, right? And in certain circles like STEM or tech and different fields, newer fields that don't involve, blue collar labor, these more white collar fields that are opening up, most of these fields are dominated by men. And some women enter these fields and feel displaced, outnumbered, feel a little uncomfortable. Maybe there's people hitting on her constantly and in her space. There are different advantages and disadvantages that men and women get to enjoy in this life and in this society. Women might be walking down the street at night or walking to a parking lot and feel extremely uncomfortable and unsafe, whereas a man may not feel as concerned because he knows he could defend himself if somebody were to attack him. There are different upsides and downsides to being a man or a woman in today's society. However, I do believe, and I don't believe that this is an indictment against women, I do believe that women do have a lot more social mobility and social privilege than men, but I understand that there's a reason behind that.
With a vagina, you inherently have 10 times more privilege than a man. From the time they are little, girls are always like doted on and you're so pretty and cute.
Very coddled.
They're coddled,
Yeah.
right? As they should be,
Yeah.
we want that feminine, nurturing energy in them. You can kind of be a degenerate woman and have a hot body and be a millionaire on OnlyFans. Yeah. Men don't have that privilege. Now,
here's the thing, right? The whole OnlyFans, women can hop on OnlyFans and they can do this and they can do that, and men can never do that. And here's the problem with this particular privilege that women have. Men allow all of it. I say it all the time. Part of the reason why dating is so hard for men is because of men. Women are having an easy time on social media and all these dating apps, not because of other women. It's because y'all dudes all hit the follow button. Y'all all hit the like button. Y'all don't know when to quit. Y'all make the dating game harder for everybody else because y'all don't know how to stop simping in this motherfucker. It's just a fact. Bro, it's unbelievable the level of simping that y'all do on y'all young men. Even in someone older, millennials and Gen Z, the level of simping from us is insane. It's sickening. The only reason these women can, go on OnlyFans and make M's is because men choose to. Men choose to buy the OnlyFans. Men choose to like all the pictures and boost and blow up these chicks' egos. Men choose to follow chicks that are never going to follow them back on the gram. Men choose to blow up the egos, social status, and social mobility of women. There's no evil queen bee female behind the scenes, as far as I know, manipulating everything to where men are losing in this situation, that situation. Men are losing right now in these particular aspects because we choose to. The dating game is so difficult because we, for unfortunately, don't have proper standards as men. I see men say all the time to women, oh, we don't like when y'all go on social media and post booty pics and do this and do that. Y'all keep for some reason, men keep liking these pictures. It's like, bruh, use critical thinking. If you don't want your girl or other women out here doing this, you can't be on social media liking these pictures and blowing it up and gassing it up. But we still do it. So I agree that women definitely have a lot more social mobility than men. They're coddled more than men. They start out in life at a higher level than men. But part of this is because we as men are fucking up. And I'm going to go further into detail about that.
Women don't have to like work to get a guy. They're just hot. And then they get guys come to them and spend their resources on them. A man has to prove himself. He has to build a body. He has to make money. He has to build influence. He has to become a protector, a provider. Women just have that naturally by just having a vagina, as I said. Why it's...
Yeah, I mean, and here's the thing about this social mobility. Oh, you know, a woman just has a vagina, therefore she can do whatever. This is also because of men. I could be as attractive as I want to be. I'm never going on a yacht. A rich woman is not just inviting a whole bunch of male models on a yacht. It's not going to happen. However, the inverse is real. You watching this, 9 times out of 10, if you're watching this, you're a man. If you had 20 mil tomorrow, somehow, some way, God has blessed you with 20 mil. You know that if you threw a yacht party, you're not inviting a bunch of dudes. You're going to have a bunch of girls, beautiful women to come on your yacht with you and your boys. Ain't nothing wrong with it. I ain't mad at you. Do your thing. But get my point. These women have done nothing. They've proven nothing. They haven't grinded their soul away at anything. They haven't become the greatest rapper or the greatest basketball player or the greatest this or the greatest that. They're just beautiful. They just have a nice body and they're on this yacht enjoying this social experience, making friends, making memories, and the social clout. They get the social clout of being able to post pictures of I'm on a yacht, and post it on Instagram and make their friends feel jealous. They get to enjoy all of that simply because they're attractive to you. Us men, we are part of the reason why this system is so fucked up and stacked against us, and we got to talk about it. Now, here's the thing. Young women start life at a severe advantage over men. I say it all the time. Most young men today start life at level 0. Level 0. Like if this was like an RPG, I'd say most young men start at level 0. Whereas most young women, I would say start at about level 35, about level 40, like, you know, Skyrim type shit. You know, most young women start at a very high level. On demand, a woman could get pregnant and start a family. On demand, a woman could have a boyfriend. On demand, a woman could probably go to any social outing, any party. Women have full-fleshed out social lives at their whim, at their mercy, at their disposal at any point in time that they wish. Whereas as a young man, being invited to an outing, a party, the bar, having a girlfriend, having sex, these are all things that are extremely difficult to come across once you leave high school. Once you leave this big social setting where you can make so many friends and be invited to this and be invited to that, maybe if you get along with everybody. Now you're out of high school and you're at level 0. You're probably not fitting in shape. You probably don't have too many followers on the gram. You probably have nothing going on in your life that's going to take you anywhere high. You're probably not a professional athlete. You're probably not a rapper who's going to make it big. You're nothing. You're just a blank slate. A blank slate at 18 years old in this society is unacceptable. Absolutely, it's just unacceptable in any way. And young men, unfortunately, if you say, as a father, if you say, you know what, I'm concerned about my son's social future. I'm concerned about my son's reproductive future. I want to make sure that my son is not going to leave this house and struggle to find a wife at age 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. I want to make sure that my son coming out of high school understands what he needs to have. He needs to be fit and in shape. He needs to have his money together. He needs to have some level of social status. He needs to have, these are things that young men need to have. And unfortunately, I believe that a lot of radical left-wing people don't want fathers to have this kind of conversation with their son, but it needs to be had. These things need to be had. These conversations have to be had. So there is definitely an quote-unquote unfair advantage women have over men. And a lot of, like I said before, a lot of these unfair advantages stem from high status men. The Drakes, the Odell Beckhams, the Blake Griffins of the world, the Devin Bookers, these high status, these men that have all of this high status and success, they choose to invite these beautiful women to these parties. They choose to, even in high school, the football players, they pick out the girls that they want to hit. These guys are at the top of the social hierarchy. Men. Women are not at the top of the social hierarchy. Men are. Highly successful men. So that's what I think about what she said in regards to that.
Frustrating because the feminist movement has been all about women acting like they don't have rights and acting like they have it pretty hard in the modern day world. I can't think of a single thing that I don't have that a guy has, or
that
you
they
know,
only have.
like,
I would say the
that
one
they
thing I
only
would
have.
say is the safety thing. That's the only thing that I would say is that women are disadvantaged from. By nature, women are not as physically strong. I mean, you're physically strong, but as physically strong.
I'll take it.
It's great biceps. And men just are. And if you're walking down a dark alley as a woman, you're going to feel some type of way sometimes,
That's
right?
why we need guns.
Right, and that's why I encourage all young women to buy themselves a gun. By all means, get to the guns before these folks ban them all. Because you know that once they ban the AR-15, you know, folks gonna start using handguns for mass shootings, and then at that point, you know, they're gonna ban handguns next. You ain't gonna be able to get a gun. So go get you a gun. But you know, this discussion is it's important because the really important thing that needs to be discussed is how do we make sure young men aren't walking into life at age 18 not knowing what the fuck is going on? Because this is the reason why people like Andrew Tate, this is why people like Fresh and Fit, this is why people like Steph is Cold are who the young men want to hear right now. Because society does not want young men to know what women want. Because they're afraid that if young men know what women want, they're going to hate young women. But I, in my opinion, have seen young men learn and embrace what women want and try to improve themselves. There's so many more young men in the gym nowadays. So many more young men getting involved in the arts and content creation and trying to explore different means of just, you know, making a career and a way for themselves. But right now, young men feel lost. It's hard for them to get a girlfriend. It's hard for them to find a wife. Hard for them to even have sex. Hard for them to build a family. If young men feel like society has nothing for them, they're not going to create anything for society. They're not going to participate. They're not going to graduate from college. They're not going to go get a trade. They're going to sit down and consume because they feel like they have nothing to gain. There's no part of the American dream cut out for them. This is a discussion that has to be had. And unfortunately, it's politically incorrect if you're a father and you pull your son aside and say, son, I'm going to teach you exactly what women want, and I'm going to teach you how to become the kind of man that women want to be with so that you're not spending your 20s and 30s and 40s confused and alone. Somehow that's wrong. Somehow that's not okay. Somehow, some way that's not okay.
Men are falling behind in society.
I just think, I mean, we have amazing men here today. It's an honor
thank
to be
you.
on this
You
panel
barely
with
know
you, to see this masculine energy. However, I know that men
This
are
chick is
not
crazy,
able to be
bro.
men anymore because of the
You ever just seen a chick and you just know something's a little bit off? She one of them. Something ain't right with Shorty, bro. Something ain't right. She immediately glazing them. All of them, and she glazing the moment they come on the panel.
feminists, modern feminist propaganda. I coach men in my practice and they tell me, like, I don't even know what I can do on a date anymore. Can I ask a woman out? Am I going to get in trouble for this now? Like, I really like her. I kind of want to put my hand around her waist, but maybe that's going to, you know, I'm going to be all over social media, this kind of thing. And I think men don't have the balls anymore to just stand up and be a man, be dangerous, be fierce.
I want to respond to a lot of what you said.
Please.
Does anybody else want?
You make a really interesting point. However, I feel like a lot of the reasons why men can't actively express masculinity in a positive way is because of the patriarchal structures that we have. Part of where I'm coming from with this is I'm trans. So I was born female. Now I present as male. I came out socially and medically transitioned at 18.
Okay.
The feminist movement is what helped me feel empowered enough to be who I am.
I don't understand the argument that the patriarchy is why men do not feel comfortable expressing their masculinity or embracing their masculinity. I don't understand where this argument comes from. The patriarchy, if you go further and further back to when the patriarchy was fully in its prime, in its full strength, men were toxically masculine. Toxically. So I'm already disagreeing with this tape, but let's hear him out.
And be a man.
And no disrespect to your process. I know it's a very strenuous thing that you go through, but I see a woman still. I feel feminine energy from you.
That's all right. I totally
so when you
respect
say
that.
you're a man, then it's like, I don't see that.
Yo, what the fuck? Yo, when I told you this chick was like cut from a different type of cloth, bro, like, yo, like, and to his credit, to his, her, whatever, they, him credit, I wouldn't have known I would not have known he was not a biological man. unless he said something. I would not have known. Zero, zilch, nada. He seems like any other just like nerdy, like kind of guy.
The way I think about it is more like about individual choice and individual freedom. And if I want to say that I have feminine energy and people view me as masculine or vice versa, then that's their problem. That's not my problem. And for me, that's what feminism is about giving people the choice to act in accordance with however the hell they want to.
But that's a very dangerous society.
That's not how feminism started, though. Yeah, we went from, wanting equal rights for women and equality for women, and now it's
humanizing women, right?
Humanizing women, making it to where I think we all...
Okay, Shorty, you gotta stop. Like, you done spoke enough. You done, like, she need to chill. She need to relax. You done did a little too much talking, bro. Like, relax.
Agree, women now are equal to men, and with like third and fourth wave feminism, especially fourth wave feminism, it's kind of turned into individuality, like you said.
It doesn't take a man to tell me how to be a man. It doesn't take a woman either. I can define myself as a man how I want to. I don't need somebody like Andrew Tate to be like, you're not a man unless you do this. I also don't need a woman to come up and be like, you're not a real man if you don't do this. And it's the same with femininity. I'm not going to tell you how to be a woman. I don't think another woman should tell you how to be a woman either.
So what would you tell kids?
I severely disagree with that. I firmly believe that a man should be the one to teach a young boy how to be a man, and a woman should be the one to teach a young lady how to be a woman. I don't believe in this idea that you can be the person you want to be, but in terms of your gender roles in society, that is passed down to you. I don't know why I even said that. Passed down to you from the people that are older than you in the gender that you belong to. If you're a young man, and 9 times out of 10, you're probably going to learn how to hunt, how to fish, how to do anything involving masculine roles, masculine tasks. You're going to learn how to do that from your father. I'm not saying a woman couldn't teach a young man, but it would be ideal if the father is alive and able to participate in his son's life. It would be ideal for the father to pass down the morals and values and ethics and expectations of what it means to be a man to his son. That would be ideal, right? Am I wrong? I would hope. I don't believe in the idea that, what a man means to me is what a man means to me. Like, anybody can take that anywhere. I do believe that as a society, we should have some definitions, values, morals that we hold dear and take seriously. I feel like I sound like a conservative right now. I'm not a conservative. I'm liberal, and yet I just feel like when it comes to, and these are my feelings, not any sort of fact, but I do believe that as a society, we would function better if we pass down these roles from man to boy, woman to girl. We pass these things down to the next generation of young people instead of everyone just trying to make up whatever is in their head. There needs to be some level of consistency and normalcy. Otherwise, we devolve into social chaos. Gender roles are not... People act like gender roles are this horrible lunk on our legs that we just want to get rid of. But the reality is that everyone embraces gender roles to their convenience. Guarantee you, all these people talking about gender roles are so horrible. Oh my God, oppression, patriarchy. The moment World War III sets off, the moment something that rocks our world sets off, watch how quick gender roles go back into effect. Just saying.
Yeah, like you have a daughter. Do you really want to be guided by the ambiguous, define yourself as however you want to define yourself, and for her mind to be molded and shaped by men who, no disrespect, women who turn themselves into men and then turn themselves back and say there's a lot of dissatisfaction when the root of the problem wasn't the gender, it was everything else.
Actually
slow down though.
very
I
low.
feel like
I looked at the percentages.
That was very, very loaded. That was very, very loaded.
But that's
I looked at
neither
percentages.
That's also a minority of the population.
feels like you're bundling a lot of ideas, which makes it hard to respond. But
Well, because there's so much data to support
can you
these.
repeat what's the main question?
Do you
on
want
the
your
answer?
daughter's mind to be formed and shaped by a society that tells her it's okay to be masculine and to be a man, and that she doesn't need a man, and that it's better off for her to be alone and put her career first and not have children?
I think it's more likely than not that she'll probably follow a more conventional path. If my daughter grows up and she wants to dress like a boy, like, great. If she, for whatever reason, is experiencing gender dysphoria, like, we would navigate that together. But that, to me, it doesn't scare me. And I would all the more want to live in a world that...
I feel like that's sad. Because
Why,
it's because my son, I encourage him. I say, you are to be, and I really don't care the backlash. You're supposed to be attracted to women. I
Isn't
tell
that a lot
him,
of pressure?
and I ask him,
What
who
if
are
he's not?
Because life for transgender individuals, and my son's African American as well, is very freaking hard. I don't know if we can swear. I'm sorry.
Like, here's my thing, right? It's like I said before, gender roles, these are societal norms that we shouldn't try to get rid of simply because of the sake. What we should be trying to do is not create an environment where people who do not subscribe to those gender norms or gender roles are treated like shit. We should create a society and an environment where tomboys aren't treated like shit, where boys that are feminine aren't treated like shit. There were people in my high school. We had a kid that was very effeminate. Nobody bothered. He was a quiet guy, never bothered anybody, very effeminate. We never picked on him. I had a classmate who was a tomboy. We never picked on her. Granted, she was one of the popular kids, but even still, we never picked on her. At the end of the day, we need to create an environment where kids can be kids. Now, when it comes to gender dysphoria, that's a medical issue. That's not something that should really be explored until someone's an adult and wants to transition when they're an adult. However, I do believe that gender roles isn't something that we should shy away from as a society, because I truly believe that we are comfortable with gender roles. All throughout human society, all throughout all these different civilizations, all across the world, gender roles are normal. What's not okay is bullying someone or making their life hell on earth because they don't subscribe to those gender roles. Most human beings fit just fine in line with their gender roles. Most men don't mind picking up a weapon and fighting for their country. Most women, in the right circumstances, probably wouldn't mind staying home and taking care of their kids. At the end of the day, most gender roles, I think we as a society, as human beings, don't have too much of an issue with. So I think it's unnecessary to blame every single social ill on the patriarchy or gender roles. If World War III pops off tomorrow, like I said before, watch how quick all these people who hate gender roles all of a sudden embrace it. When we go back to frontier lifestyle living, hopefully we never do, but if it were to happen after World War III, watch how quick everybody goes back to gender roles. I'm just saying. That's just the reality of the world that we live in.
Women should also be drafted into the military.
Let's do it.
If you're gonna vote, you might as well be drafted, baby. That's it.
Yeah, I believe rights come with responsibilities, and we are all responsible individuals. Granted, I'm glad we live in a society where we haven't had the draft since, like, I think Vietnam.
50 years.
Vietnam. I think
50
Vietnam.
years ago.
I do think that maybe, like, we should relook at the draft and as other options, not just military service. So I was in the active duty military, and I was also in the National Guard, and I've fought wildfires, and, like, I've done crowd control. I've done a lot of other things. If you want the same rights, you have to have the same responsibilities, and I think that's just universal based on what you can do and your abilities.
I agree with that. I agree with the fact that if women want to vote, they should also be willing to be drafted. However, I don't believe in sending women to the infantry or special forces. Like, there are other jobs that women can do in the military outside of getting shot at and blown up and being, trusted with the task of picking up a battle buddy and hoisting them over your fucking your shoulder and firemen carrying them under enemy fire. I don't trust women to do that job as effectively as I trust young men to do it. There's a reason why we're not drafting old men to be in the infantry. There's an age limit, right? So I believe women should be drafted. However, we shouldn't be vindictive about it. Like, oh, women should be drafted. Let's throw them off into the infantry. Absolutely not. And for anyone who would sit there and say, oh, women could be in the military at the same capacity as men. Women can be in the infantry like men. Women can... Stop. Please just stop. I joined the army and broke my ankle in training. Unfortunately, didn't make it through. Took a massive L. However, when I was in basic training, simple ruck marches that I was able to do, I'm seeing dudes falling the fuck out. Ruck marches just up a hill or around a track. Week 1, red-faced dudes falling out over ruck marches. We had dudes passing out after running in the rock pit for too long. You expect women to be infantrymen when you got dudes who can't even handle infantry training? Who can't even handle the first week of, like, basic training? Stop. Let's be realistic about gender differences so we can create a society where everyone feels accommodated and accounted for. Not trying to play with, delusions and insanity. I'm just saying.
This was a very difficult one for me to parse through because I remember when I was getting my birth certificate changed and it was like, all right, time to register for selective service. And I was like, oh God, I have to make this decision now to register.
You don't have a choice.
I know. So I was like, all right, cool. Like I will go through with finishing all this legal stuff up and register. And I think, like you said, there's lots of other responsibilities that men and women of different abilities and different strengths could fulfill within selective service if we needed it.
Drafted, correct me if I'm wrong, would be going into war, would be physically going and doing
Not
the actual combat.
A lot of the draftees in Vietnam didn't go see combat. They did supportive roles.
Okay.
It's selective service, so you register to be potentially needed to call for multiple different responsibilities.
But some of them are going.
Right.
Some of them, there was some bad cases.
The part
I would hope that no women are going to the infantry.
that I would disagree with would be putting women on the front lines. We are physically capable to do a lot. You know, there's different boundaries for women who go into the military, who have to do boot camp, than there are for men. We can work women as hard as they can, but they're not going to work as hard as men are.
I actually got accepted into the Air Force, which would have been like very nice because I would have had a little desk job. But unfortunately, I was waiting for a job, so I went into Army. So I went through boot camp, and it was hell, and it really messed my back up even more than it already was. Our rationale skills and our logical thinking is not conducive to be able to be on the front grounds, to be able to make, oh my gosh, if I step here, this is going to blow up. Can I, like, we just think too emotionally. And that's why when we talked about leadership, it's the same thing. Being in those positions where like split second decision could make or break, I don't think women have it in them to do that. And I don't think it's fair to men. I wouldn't, if I was a man, I wouldn't want to be next to a woman and want to be carried out if my life was depending on it.
I think it seems like a lot of the same discussions keep happening with these prompts, which is back and forth of how much is it nature, how much is it nurture, how much are there like intrinsic biological differences between men and women, and how much does that dictate our behavior and our physiology, our biology, versus how much of that is through social learning. So how much it's our culture in terms of,
Societal
let's say, like
programming
on a scale of 1 to 10, how high is your sex drive?
Very high.
Well, here's the thing. Like, this is what people try to do. People try to turn the differences between men and women into a social thing. There is a reason why no dude wants a chick next to him in the infantry. I'm sorry, but if machine gun fire is going off and we're walking around in an area with IEDs and you're sitting there freaking out, standing in the middle of the gunfire, losing your mind, having a nervous breakdown, and every other dude is running for cover, but you, this chick, you're standing there freaking out, because that's a very likely scenario. If I'm imagining a girl in a firefight, I can imagine a chick just sitting there. No dude, and even if you had the most cool, calm, collected, badass chick, let's say you've been shot and you need to be carried out of a room, she might not be able to properly carry you. Seconds matter when it comes to saving a life, I would imagine, on the battlefield. Like I said, I never made it through training. I broke my fucking ankle. But I would imagine that if you were on the front lines, you would need physically capable, able-bodied young men around each other to be able to assist one another in any situation in a timely manner. So to make it seem like, oh, well, the reason why women wouldn't be in the infantry is because of, social influence, and, it's not really nature. It's more so nurture why women aren't able to handle certain situations. And there is some level of truth to that, right? If you, let's just face it, coddle one gender over another, trying to throw the coddled gender into war alongside the non-coddled gender is stupid. It's stupid. It's unnecessary. It's foolish. So in my mind, I think that women should be drafted, but shouldn't be sent to combat roles. If you want to vote, you should be drafted. We need people to, work in other roles outside of combat. However, the idea that, oh, well, the differences between men and women are completely just made, it's more so nurture versus nature. It's not really biological, more so. It's just cultural. It's like, let's please not do that. Because if you ask most of these women, they don't want to be carrying a big ass ruck. They don't want to be wearing these crazy ass boots. They don't want to be getting shot at. They don't want to be, like, let's just be realistic here and not engage in fantasy for the sake of engaging in fantasy. It's just unbelievably dishonest and just stupid, and it's just unbelievably ridiculous. I think that ultimately the differences between men and women should be celebrated, should be glorified, should be should be celebrated. I don't think that there's something wrong with men being men and women being women. And we live in a society right now where we're embracing confusion because we're bored. I genuinely believe that if America was a third world country, or a nation like, Ukraine, or, any of the other Eastern European nations that are at constant risk for war, I believe that we would be a much different nation. I fully and firmly believe that our socioeconomic dominance as a nation has allowed us to engage in stupidity, complete foolishness and stupidity at our luxury, at our own. We can think up the most insane shit, identify as whatever we want to identify as, live out these, create these crazy philosophies and points of view, and all this contention and division between the American people that's mostly, in my opinion, rooted in people being bored as fuck. That's what I think. So, we see these crazies come on these different platforms and talk about how there's no difference between men and women, or, the patriarchy is destroying society to this day. The patriarchy is the reason why men are going through this or going through that. It's just people come up with the utmost foolishness in their minds because of the current state of society that we live in, where we can all be irrational, uninformed, insane, and there's no immediate consequence. So let me know what y'all think in the comment section below. Like, comment, subscribe. I'm out.